everyone and welcome to today's video. Now today this is going to be a very special video as I'll be covering the Australian Touring Car Championship Controversy Iceberg, also known as the Supercars Championship Iceberg as well. This was made on Reddit by a user called Jenna Must Withhold, so shout out to them for making this iceberg, and I'll leave a link as well to the Reddit thread down in the description below. But basically how it's going to work is, once again, like normal iceberg videos, it's basically going to be cut up into different tiers. So I'm pretty sure for this video it'll be a total of 7 tiers, I'm pretty sure, so it's going to be a pretty long video. But obviously there'll be chapters in the description as well, so you can jump to whichever tier that you want to jump into. So with that out of the way, let's first start off with tier 1. Tier 1 is where most, if not every Supercars fan would know what these entries mean. To start off tier 1, we had the Phillip Island 2006 race. The final race of the 2006 Supercar season was controversial due to Rick Kelly spinning out title contender and fan favorite Craig Lowndes for the championship, meaning Rick Kelly won the championship while Lowndes was facing backwards. The Rock of Bathurst 1980. While racing in the Bathurst race in 1980, Dick Johnson hit a rock which was rolled onto the track. Johnson took avoiding action, obviously, which caused him to ride the wall, narrowly missing some marshals and landing back onto the track. Murphy/Ambrose Bathurst 2007. These two do not like each other is synonymous with Supercars fans and is a perfect summary of these two drivers. Going up the cutting, Marcus Ambrose and Greg Murphy collided, which almost ended up with Ambrose going to the bushes. This started a heated conversation between the two and a fierce rivalry for the ages. The ATCC/Super Touring War refers to, just like most sport disciplines, there was a disagreement between two major parties. There might be some information I missed out on, but here's the short version. Basically, Aussie fans weren't happy that the Falcons and the Commodores were not winning races, while cars which weren't sold in Australia during the time were winning. This was because of a new regulation came in for Group A cars to race. So cars like Skylines, M3, Sierras, 190Es, hell, even a Stallion and Corollas. So in 1996, the championship was renamed to VA Supercars. Please bring that back, please. After Tony Cochran became CEO. Energy Polarizer refers to Peter Brock supporting a device which was fitted to all Holden dealer team specials. This device was called the Energy Paralyzer, which contained crystals and magnets in an epoxy resin. It claimed to improve the performance and handling of vehicles through aligning the molecules. I do not understand this. I'm not a science person, so I have no idea if this is true or not. Bathurst 1992 finish. This was first to the finish to the Bathurst 1992 race, ended with torrential rain. The Nissan Skyline, driven by Mark Scape and Jim Richards, won the race, and fans were not happy. This caused Jim Richards to utter the famous words to call the fans a pack of assholes. Race Rage 2003 finale refers to Mark Scafe and Russell Ingall colliding at turn 9. This resulted in Scafe hitting the inside wall. He got out of the car and waited for Ingall to express his displeasure. As Ingall came around, Scafe walked towards the circuit, shaking his fist at Ingall, while Ingall in return swerved towards Scafe. Ingall was disqualified and both drivers were fined. 5 effing minutes 2002 Bathurst pit lane penalties. In the 2002 Bathurst 1000, for some reason, Race Control would give out a 5-minute stop and go, which Greg Murphy was not happy about. Proceeded to get out of his car and basically yelled out at his team 5 minutes. Give Us Some Gentle refers to Scott McLaughlin's interview in the 2015 Adelaide 500, where he had an amazing battle with a 6-time champion at the time, Jamie Whincup, for 2nd place. Where he was a bit too excited and dropped the F-bomb on live television. Debris DGRTP team orders. The most recent Bathurst controversy is a team order in Dick Johnson Racing Team Penske, where the team instructed their second driver, Fabian Coulthard, to slow down to give the leader Scott McLaughlin space to pit. This also reduces double stacking and McLaughlin basically being in the lead indefinitely. The team received basically a $250K fine and docked 300 owner's points. You know it's also bad as well when Tony D'Alberto, the co-driver for Fabian Coulthard, had no idea about this. Eggenberger Sierra's legality after the 1987 James Hardy 1000 concluded multiple teams lodged a protest on the two Eggenberger Texaco Sierras, who finished 1-2. This is because of basically of an illegal modified front wheel arch guard, which in favor allowed the cars to race on taller tires and also the use of illegal fuel. On November 13, 1987, the stewards declared the cars to be illegal. The team appealed to the AMCAC, but was rejected. While on December 9, 1987, Eggenberger then appealed it to FISA in France. But on March 14, 1988, 9 months after the race, it was declared that Brock, Parsons, and McLeod were the winners. Whincup Bathurst 2014 fuel refers to Jamie Whincup running out of fuel on the final lap on the 2014 Bathurst 1000. This is because he ignored the order from the team and was pushing to stay in front of Chaz Mostert, who ended up winning the race with Paul Morris. According to Jamie, when talking to Motorsport.com, the numbers were not correct in the reserve fuel tank. Finally, for Tier 1, we had the Gen 3 delay / parity. Refers to the drama Gen 3 had. Just like other motorsports disciplines, the next generation was delayed due to shock horror, COVID. However, the biggest issue when the Gen 3 rolled out was the plethora of parity issues. It was revealed in data that the Chevy teams were absolutely dominating the field. Later into the year, Supercars tried to make some changes to the Ford Mustang to make it close or even to the Camaro. Luckily, at the end, it looks like the parity issue has been resolved and added with the wind tunnel testing over Charlotte, North Carolina. We can finally say that the parity issues are resolved, but we'll have to wait and see until the first race of 2024. Tier 2 is where we get to go a bit more in depth in some of the controversies, while also adding some controversies that people will still remember. McLaughlin pit speed Newcastle 2017 refers to McLaughlin gained a penalty for speeding in the pit lane during the Newcastle finale race in 2017. However, according to DGRTP, the data showed McLaughlin didn't exceed the 40 km/h pit speed. This forced Supercars to reinforce the accuracy of the timing system used for pit lane speed. Whincup penalty Bathurst 2016 refers to Whincup being handed a 15-second time penalty for careless driving due to a collision between McLaughlin at the chase. Whincup tried to redress and let McLaughlin by, but Tanda and McLaughlin collided with the confusion of drivers and fans. Whincup will lose the race and basically would hand the win to Will Davidson and Jonathan Webb, which was a Cinderella victory back then. Balaclava Gate Bathurst 2005 refers to Marcus Ambrose being asked if he was wearing a balaclava during the 2005 Bathurst 1000. Obviously, Ambrose said yes, that he was wearing a balaclava, but Supercars told him to pit so the crew can put a balaclava on him. And this is Skyline R32 legality. I'm guessing this refers to the questions people had on the Skyline's legality, obviously. Considering back then the Skyline was the only car to be all-wheel drive and have a turbocharger in the Group A period, but obviously I might be wrong. Moffat disqualified at the Sandown 1982 race refers to Alan Moffat being disqualified in the 1982 Sandown race. This is because Moffat got a 1-minute penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Moffat came down pit road to address the penalty, but ended up speeding again, and to top it all off, clipped a team member. The officials black flagged Moffat late in the race, and the win went to Alan Grice, but Moffat was awarded the win under an appeal later in 1982. WPS Racing / Greg Gore refers to WPS Racing and team owner Greg Gore's interesting past. Firstly, we'll first talk about WPS Racing. The team's first season, which was in 2004, both cars were black flagged in a warm-up session for carrying no money from Ford logos on their windscreen banners. The team, this was because it was a protest against the lack of financial support from Ford. Another instance was the team causing 5 of the 12 safety cars during the 2004 Sandown 500, where fans were saying WPS means we produce safety cars, which I find pretty funny. It is also when Greg Gore basically ripped apart his entire team after the race. Speaking of Greg Gore, news came out in November 2020 that he was sentenced to 5 years in prison with a non-parole period of 2 years after being found guilty on 6 counts of fraud, which was totaling to $345,000. Jungle Juice E70 fuel refers to the 2017 Winton race, where the Nissan drivers grabbed a very surprising 1-2 finish. However, not everyone was celebrating, especially Jane Winkup, who famously called the fuel the Nissan drivers and the Mercedes driver Amara Engel as Jungle Juice. All the other cars had E85 fuel, which had a disadvantage over the E70 fuel users because of the lower amount of ethanol. This was because of the fuel parity problems ahead of Sandown, Bathurst, and Gold Coast. Pukekohe 2019 safety car refers to Jim Winker was incorrectly picked up by the safety car after Reynolds' car had a throttle problem. He then passed the safety car to rectify the issue, but was not told to do so. He later received a drive-through penalty, giving the lead and the win to Scott McLaughlin in front of his home crowd. Bathurst's 1976 lap scoring refers to a possible lap scoring error which caused Colin Bond and John Harvey to not be counted a lap, which caused them to lose the victory. It got more interesting considering that HTT did not appeal the results. People have claimed it is because Holden didn't want to appear to be against the Morris/Fitzpatrick team. Obviously, the ARDC denied the lap counting error, and by some teams who carried out their own lap scoring. However, in 2003, Holden apologized to John Harvey due to not appealing the results. Harvey has since said that he was the winner of the race, even though the official results continue to show him and Bond finishing second. Lot 6 refers to the secret workshop for the Ford special vehicles from 1968 to 1974. The workshop was first led by Al Turner, then Howard Marsden. It was responsible for running Ford's touring car efforts and producing some cars like the XW, the XY, and XA Falcon models. It was also the workshop where Alan Moffat's Falcons was driven to his first 3 Bathurst victories, where prepared the Super Falcons of Moffat and Georgia Hagen were made, and the Phase IVGTHO was developed. The location of the Lot 6 is 224 Mahoney's Road, Thomastown, Victoria. And also, while making this video, the building is now being used as a car dealership called Elite Automotive Group. Larry Perkins Commodore VP Bathurst 1996 refers to Perkins Commodore, who reverted to an older VP model for Bathurst after CAMS decided to cut 125mm from the undertray of the VR Commodore ahead of the Sandown 500, which it wasn't illegal to actually, use an older model, but it was certainly outside of the box thinking from Perkins. Police Special Commodore VH refers to a Commodore VH which was built by HTT with some help from the police. HTT was struggling thanks to Dick Johnson Racing's dominance and carrying more weight than the Fords thanks to a new minimum weight to ensure engines were installed in the same body as the road car version, which also calls the Holden cars to have the luxury equipped because it was based on the Holden's heaviest car at the time. It's very, very complicated. So HTT went to the police for some help, mainly with the engine, a new 5-liter V8 for the Holden cars. Brock will later win both 1982 and 1983 Bathurst 1000s. Commodore VE parody refers to the VE Commodore when it was revealed at the start of 2007, where the Holden drivers won 25 of the 37 races in 2007. In 2019, Garth Taylor revealed during his 2007 championship run, he said the HRT and the HSV dealer team drivers were told to slow down to avoid adding weight to the parity claims from the Ford teams. An example he gave out was when he and Mark Scaife were battling at Perth and finished first and second. The gap between them and third was 10 seconds. Both the drivers got in trouble after the race, and it's a great article, so I'll leave a link to it down in the description below. Finally, to round off Tier 2, we have the DGRTP 10K poster find. This refers to Scott McLaughlin displaying the Mustang title poster on the podium during the 2019 Ipswich Super Sprint. McLaughlin got a $10,000 fine for displaying it on the podium. I don't know why this is an offense, but it is for some reason. The team later raised $30,000 for charity thanks to the poster. Tier 3 is where we get to see some weird controversies and even some name calling controversies as well. Ambrose R. Kelly Gold Coast 2004 brake test refers to after the checker flag. Marcus Ambrose brake tested Rick Kelly at Gold Coast, apparently for something that happened on the track which Ambrose was not happy with. He was fined $10,000 and was also the beginning of the Ambrose versus Murphy rivalry. Winton 2004 yellow flag pass refers to Cameron McConville grabbing his first Supercars win in controversial fashion. Basically, he passed Rick Kelly at the penultimate corner for the win, but Kelly protested, claiming he passed him while the yellow flags were displayed. McConville, however, still kept the win, while Kelly was left robbed of a victory. Pussy Wagon refers to David Reynolds calling an all-female driver lineup of Simone Di Silvestro and Renee Gracie as the Pussy Wagon. Don't know why either. Obviously, Supercars are not happy about this, and it makes it even more awkward considering that both of them, well, I should say, both those drivers were teammates. So basically, Simona and Renee were teammates with David Reynolds. Reynolds obviously received a $25,000 fine. For Mustang 2019, legality refers to rival teams questioning the legality of the Mustang back in 2019. Supercars decided to make some changes to the car, which included changes to the size of the car wings, end plates, which was reduced. The gurney flap was reduced in height, while the front undertray was reduced in length. Ford released a lengthy statement on the matter, basically saying that they are disappointed at the changes, but respects the decision from the Supercars technical department. McLaughlin Bathurst 2019 shootout engine plus sandown penalty refers to two separate penalties. Firstly, basically the engine, it was fined $30,000, obviously to Dick Johnson Racing Team Penske, for McLaughlin's engine used in the shootout. This was basically because the team decided to make a change to the engine. However, after and basically just an inspection from the stewards, the engine was found to breach the regulations. But the stewards said the breach was not deliberate. Added to the fine, McLaughlin and Premat was basically relegated to the back of the grid for the Sandown race. Bathurst 1994 Brock win bonus refers to Peter Brock was offered a massive $1,000 bonus if he won the 1994 Bathurst 1000, making it his 10th Bathurst win. But he crashed out late in a race at Reed Park, so there was no 1K bonus for him. Team Sydney. Now, my guess on this entry is Team Sydney actually wasn't based in Sydney. I think that's probably what this entry means. The team was meant to move into the complex of Sydney Motorsport Park, but I'm pretty sure the team didn't and just stuck it out in Gold Coast, Queensland. So I'm guessing that's what the entry means, but if not, then please let me know down in the comments below. Boost Mobile /GRM/Sanaway 2019 refers to a clash between Richie Sanaway and team owner Gary Rogers. Sanaway basically joined the team, and this was because of Boost Mobile, who backed Sanaway. However, in the Gold Coast round, Rogers benched Sanaway because he missed a signing session. No joke. Boost Mobile CEO Peter Addington would say about the partnership while speaking to Greg Murphy for Rapco's The Garage New Zealand as a mistake. 2015 Foxtel deal / less to free air coverage refers to a $241 million broadcast deal between Supercars, the network of 10, and the paid broadcaster of Foxtel. However, the deal did not reveal how the programs will be divided between free and paid TV networks, and to add to that, Fox was going to broadcast all the practice, qualifying, race sessions, and even the support categories. However, 10 was going to only cover Bathurst, Adelaide, Gold Coast, and Sydney only. Lightweight Ford Falcon EF refers to a Falcon back in 1995, which was built by using a special lightweight body shell with owner Kevin Wardock and Mark McLaughlin driving the car. The car was found to have a lighter gauge steel bodies and lighter panels. It is the most memorable privateer entry from back in the 90s. The Kuala Lumpur City Grand Prix refers to what was about to be a Grand Prix which was planned to make its debut in 2016. There was a demonstration in 2015 where 5 cars participated in said demonstration, and it featured qualifying and 3 short races, with Chaz Mostert being the overall winner, and was added to the 2016 calendar in September 2015 after positive responses. However, in June 2016, the event was cancelled due to legal issues around the event. Supercars did consider moving to Sepang as a replacement, but it was not possible. Whincup Bathurst 2015 safety car refers to James Whincup passing the safety car during the 2015 Bathurst 1000. He misread a call which saw him pass the safety car illegally going up Mountain Straight. This will cost him a 5th Bathurst win. After the race, he took full responsibility of the incident, saying, "I put my hands up, it's my mistake." Tier 4, we get to go deeper and deeper into the iceberg, and even a star driver announcing his quote-unquote retirement in 2012. Team Dynamic Rumura Test refers to a secret test Team Dynamic had in 2004. The team tested at, mostly Rumura, airfield, and was running a camouflage Holden Commodore with Simon wheels behind the wheel. The team even went as far as to cover the names and logos on the transporter. How they found out was that the person connected to one of the teams in 2004 alerted Supercars, which caused the officials to find the location and film the test itself for proof. It is unknown what the team was doing, but the team was fined 25k, lost all points of the season, and was excluded from the championship. David Reynolds' vaccination refers to Grove Racing benching David Reynolds in 2021 due to having an invalid vaccine exemption. Luke Gilden was a driver for the Sydney Super Night weekend. He would get the double dose of the vaccine and was able to compete at the Bathurst 1000. The Nissan Bluebird Ashtray Turbo Adjuster refers to the Bluebird that scored the pole position in 1984 at Bathurst, had an ashtray which had a turbo boost adjuster knob and the ability to change the brake bias via the headlight switches. Confirmed by former driver Gary Scott, he will say on a VA Sleuth podcast that both devices weren't game changers at all, saying the boost was able to be adjusted by wastegate and the gauge in the ashtray was limited and was finely tuned. Along with the boost, Scott said he barely used the bias. He would only use it where the fuel loads vary greatly during, mainly, an endurance race stint. SBR Wire refers to Stone Brothers Racing receiving a $10,000 fine and docked Marcus Ambrose points during the Queensland Raceway weekend due to an extra 50mm piece of wire and plug which wasn't used and was found connected to the ECU loom. The team was understandably surprised. The wire was a power output LED, which is similar to an extension cord which is used in a house or workshop, but with nothing plugged into it. The RX-7 6-speed gearbox refers to a long rumor which was confirmed in an issue of Australian Muscle Car magazine, which confirmed a 6-speed gearbox on Alan Moffat's RX-7. The issue was because the Mazda would only have a 5-speed gearbox under the Group C rules back in the day. The gearbox was reportedly only used at Sandown and Bathurst. Commodore ZB composite panels refers to the ZB Commodore having light panels during the 2018 season. It was revealed by the 14s, which said they were going to re-homologate the panels because of the Commodore. The Commodore also had other composite parts which included the roof, while the other cars had steel roofs. DGR-TP Heat Shield / COG, after doing some research, it looks like it's talking about two different instances. I'm not really too sure. The COG might be referring to a possible change to make the center of gravity, which is what COG means, more even with the Ultimates of 2018. The change was to put a ballast in the roof scan, but it would have been too much weight and to also be stored safely. While the heat shield might refer to in Phillip Island about a ballast being mounted to the exhaust. It was removed in 2019, but there was no penalty, which is when DGR-TP said it was a heat shield. So I'm not really too sure about this. Van Gisbergen retirement. No, this is not talking about the NASCAR move retirement. Van Gisbergen retired as early as 2012, for a brief time actually. He explained it as personal reasons. A rumor was circling around about Van Gisbergen being unhappy with Stone Brothers Racing, which was moving from Ford to Mercedes for the 2013 season. He will later revert his retirement to drive for Techno Autosports. However, Betty Clemenko, the CEO of Airbus Motorsports, labeled Van Gisbergen as sexist due to dipping out of the contract to drive for her in 2013. 2004 Lancerton timing error refers to the 2004 Simmons Plains race, where David Bernard won the aforementioned WPS racing. I don't know how either. What happened was after a safety car picked up Greg Murphy as leader, basically Bernard, Jason Bright, Anthony Tratt, and Mark Scaife pitted and rejoined, still in the top 4 places. The order was reshuffled behind the safety car, so Besnard was at the front before the race restarted. But a second safety car period is where the real stuff happened. Basically, the officials overruled the timing, believing Murphy was the actual leader, and waved Besnard, Bright, and Scaife by. Murphy would win until days later, where the stewards, after a meeting, concluded that the original timing was correct and Besnard was the winner. 1993 homologation process. Now, this is one of the fewest entries which I couldn't find any information about. And might be referring to the 1993 rules, largely being based on how the Group A Commodore had previously run, with new engines, upgraded rear suspension, and a big wing body kits. However, there was no direct parity testing. If someone in the comments can provide more information about this entry, that would be great. HRT ownership structure 2003 to 08 refers to Mark Scaife buying out HRT in 2003 after Holden had to get rid of the operation due to the satisfied championship rules around manufacturer ownership. After the 2008 season when Mark Scaife retired, he would hand the team back to the Walkinshaws. According to Scaife, when he appeared in Rusty's Garage podcast, he explained running a championship's then premier team while also fighting for the team's establishment with TIGA regulations sped up his retirement. McLean's repossessed car. Now, this entry was difficult to research, but I think it refers to Cameron McLean's race car being towed. The reason was because the team McLean was driving for couldn't basically afford to run the car and was stretching the budget, so the team had to go to other sponsors. If any sponsors were interested, the team would get rid of Greenfield Mowers logo on the bonnet or hood for the American viewers, until it was towed away. Basically, an injunction was put in a Brisbane court and the team didn't race. Obviously, if I am wrong, please correct me in the comments below. Gibson / 00 Motorsport. I'm not really too sure about this entry. I'm guessing it's here because of the Nissan Skyline, which dominated the Group A era of supercars, and is also memorable for the Green Knight Falcon, which Craig Lowndes drove in 2001. But other than that, I'm not really too sure what other like controversies this team had. So I'm not really too sure. If someone could tell me down in the comments below, that would be great. Tier 5 is where we get to see some interesting controversies, including an onboard camera and apparently just hiding that someone has diabetes. Murphy penalty went in 2003 refers to a controversial penalty. The penalty in question was because of an incident between Greg Murphy and Craig Lowndes. Murphy hit the rear of Lowndes' car, but appeared he had nowhere to go considering that Lowndes was already loose. Murphy would get a drive-through penalty for it. This is also when Neil Crompton blew up on live television when the penalty was released, saying 110% wrong Colin Bond, who was basically the driving standards back then. Also saying that he can buy Colin Bond and the other stewards a color TV to see the red brake lights from Lowndes' car. Crompton almost quit commentating after that, but decided to continue. Ingle Emery crash Ipswich 2000 refers to Russell Ingle turning Mark Emery after the finish line. This is because Emery, who was a lap down, was blocking Ingle, which caused them to lose third to Mark Larkham. Ingle turned Emery, which caused him to hit the pit wall. Ingle received a $10,000 fine and docked 20 championship points. Jason Richards / Team Dynamic contract refers to a contract dispute between the late Jason Richards and Team Dynamic. This is because of withheld payments with the team had after terminating Richards' contract. Richard successfully won basically the court to recover more than $30,000. He would dismiss Dynamic's $720,000 counterclaim to cover costs like repair of his cars, future loss of sponsorship, and profit. HRT Extra Resistor refers to the disqualification of HRT driver Todd Kelly in Surface Paradise in 2004. This is because of an extra wiring with a resistor was discovered in his car, but it wasn't until Simmons explained when the penalty was in place. Rick Kelly / Mostard pit crash at Adelaide 2019 refers to an incident which happened during the second race of the Adelaide 500, which effectively ended Kelly's race. Mostard was exiting out of the pit box but was in the path of Kelly, causing basically the pit road to be blocked. Mostard took the blame for the incident, but the Tickford Racing team boss, Team Edwards, basically blamed Rick Kelly, labeling him as dumb. Paul Morris REC/license level. And now this entry is really confusing to me, so I'm going to try my best to explain it, but let me know if I'm wrong or not. Basically, from what I've researched, the team purchased a level 1 license from a former driver by the name of Tony Longhurst, which expanded to a 2-car team in 2006. Then in 2008, Tim Slade joined the team to replace Paul Morris, which was then arranged between the team and another team owner by the name of James Rosenberg, who took ownership of Slade's car. Then in 2011, Ingle left, which included one of the team's REC, which is a racing entitlement contracts. Think of it as maybe as the charter system over in NASCAR. It was leased to Techno Autosports. The other car was contracted to Dick Johnson Racing. However, in 2013, the remaining REC was sold to Lucas Dumbrell Motorsports. It's a very confusing situation, so comment down below if I miss any information. But speaking of Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport in 2017 refers to the weird year Lucas Dumbrell had before the season even started. The team announced the drivers of the team, that being a 16-year-old Lucas Rouleau and the Super 2 veteran of Matt Shada. Both drivers didn't meet the CAN's qualification for a Super license, but for Shada, he wasn't accepted and was blocked by CAMS. Shada didn't meet the requirements because he didn't meet the minimum 13 points, even though Rouleau was 16 at the time, and I'm pretty sure also didn't meet the 13 points minimum as well. Taz Douglas would take his spot for Adelaide. Triple Eight Fuel Rigs 2021 refers to the fuel rig on the Triple Eight team, which was spotted to have a balloon-like appearance. This caused rival teams to believe that Triple Eight can fit more fuel than the rest. The result would mean faster fuel flow rates and net pit times. Mark Dutton would basically respond to the claims, explaining it was because of how the team stored fuel in hot conditions, while the head of motorsport for Supercars, Adam Burgers, basically said that there's nothing wrong about the fuel rig. Jack Perkins' secret diabetes diagnosis refers to second-generation Perkins driver Jack Perkins, hiding the fact that he had type 1 diabetes when he was diagnosed in 2006. Perkins went so far to hide it, he used someone else's urine to pass the Supercars license medical. This basically changed Supercars licensing procedure. Brock Sierra Halloon Gas Boost refers to Brock Sierra was spotted with an onboard fire extinguisher system after qualifying. The extinguisher in question was used to direct supercooled halloon gas over the intercooler. This caused the power to be boosted for qualifying. Brock was fined $5,000 for the offense. McLaughlin onboard camera Twitter post plus fine 2013 refers to Scott McLaughlin posting the onboard camera footage of a lap at Winton onto Twitter, well now called X, when he was racing for Gary Rogers Motorsports. Phillip Island 2017 refers to the drama-filled race that was Phillip Island. While Fabian Coulthard won the race, penalties and tyre blowouts plagued the race. A total of 17 tyre failures in the race as well, which included the eventual winner Coulthard. However, the biggest issue was the penalties where McLaughlin, Winterbottom, and Van Gisbergen were all hit with a 15-second time penalty for crossing the fast line on their way to the pits. Winterbottom and Van Gisbergen took the penalties with their stops. However, for McLaughlin, he pitted on lap 40 until the safety car came out, which means he couldn't actually serve his 15-second time penalty and had to come in after the restart. Tier 6, we get to see quite a lot of controversy stuff, and even a bar fight over in Austin. The XU-1 engine blocks. I'm not really too sure what the controversy is for this entry, but all I'll say is that the engine was used in the Holden Tirana during the 1970 season. The engine had a cubic centimeter size of 3048, or basically 186 cubic inches. The engine produced 160 horsepower with 190 foot-pounds of torque. So I'm not sure what this means, so if someone can comment down below what this means, that'll be great. Erebus / Aaron Russell split refers to the very unexpected split between Erebus and Aaron Russell. The issue is it wasn't from the driver or the team, it was from the sponsor of Plus Fitness. The reason for the sudden split was because of the payments for the preparation of the car. Surely nothing bad would happen to Erebus in 2024, what if the reigning champion was just sidelined for the first round of the season? That would never happen, right? Right? Neil said deliberately causing safety car Bathurst 2008, according in the Reddit thread under the iceberg. The conspiracy is Matt Neal was told by team owner Paul Morris to cause a safety car during the Bathurst 1000 in 2008. This was so the other car, Morris and Ingle, could be in better shape for the end of the race because the car was suffering from overheating issues. Planet Mork refers to Russell Ingle and other high-profile drivers being affected by traffic during the qualifying for the 2000 FAI 1000. During the press conference, Ingle called out the slow drivers as Planet Mork. In return, he copped a $10,000 fine and a verbal argument with Richard Mork, who was basically a cult hero with privateer teams. Abu Dhabi 2011 safety car refers to an advantage the drivers had when the safety car was out. Basically, if a driver pits under the safety car, it will actually be faster than staying behind the safety car because of how slow it was. The drivers would exit out the tunnel at the pit exit, basically alongside the safety car. Reynolds/Kelly Racing Contract 2011 refers to David Reynolds being released from Kelly Racing back in 2011. This was strange because the team responded to rumors of him going to Full Performance Racing in 2012, which normally a team wouldn't do. But it gets weirder as the statement put out didn't suggest anything about a contract being signed between the two parties, and it didn't say anything about Reynolds from any obligation, preserved obligations or circumstances which would leave the settlement between the two parties open. Kelly Racing would also release Reynolds, and David did join FPR for 2012, now called Tickford Racing. Scaife/McDormand bar fight Austin 2013 refers to Mark Scaife being punched in the face at a blind pig bar at Austin in 2013 when Supercars went to CODA for 2 years by Holden Motorsport Public Relations Manager Gerald McDormand. According to the police report, Scaife shouldered McDormand in the chest. Scaife then physically and verbally threatened McDormand, who responded by punching him in the face. McDormand reported to the police but did not press any charges against Scaife, who responded to reports calling it a little kerfuffle. Haihoon DVS car impounded refers to in 2007 when Terry Haihoon, I don't know how you say his last name so I apologize for it, purchased Paul Shershang's racing car in the Dunlop series. Also, once again, I don't know how to say his last name, I apologize. The plan was for Haihoon to start the season before Owen Kelly stepped in for Queensland Raceway, but a disagreement occurred on who owned the car prior to Haihoon purchasing it. It got so ugly that the police appeared at the circuit and towed the car and impounded it from the track, during a race meeting as well. At the end, Haihoon would get the car back. The Skyline HR31 airflow sensor. Now, just like the engine block previously on this tier, I have no idea what this engine means. However, after doing some research, it looks like the sensor could also be installed into the VL Commodore, which was used between 1986 and 1988, well that's when production was basically at. So I'm guessing this is what the entry means, but honestly I could be wrong. Daily Planet/Trimble Family. This was a very strange entry. Firstly, Daily Planet. Daily Planet was a business in Melbourne which ultimately started a race team in 1982 ending in 2000. But the weird thing about Daily Planet was it was a brothel. You can search out what a brothel is if you want. While John Trimble was the owner of Daily Planet. Not only he was the owner for the team, but he was also the driver for the team for Supercars in 1997 and 1999, and also the Super 2 driver in 2000. Owner-driver at its finest. Longhurst/Dynamic license ownership refers to a court case between Longhurst Racing and Team Dynamic. For a short summary, Kerrion Wills and Anthony Longhurst were in talks about Wills selling one of Dynamic's license to Longhurst for $1.5 million. And remember, this was back in 2005. Longhurst said that the license was not worth the price, but later accepted it. Talks continued and some agreements were settled. However, Team Dynamic was supposed to pay Longhurst $750,000 by the 1st of December, while Longhurst, I'm pretty sure, was going to pay $450,000. However, Willis basically said that it didn't happen, which makes it more worse, basically considering that Team Dynamic was unable to pay because it didn't have the money to. So the team got a mortgage to pay. Basically, at the end, Longhurst got the license from Team Dynamic. I'll leave a link to the court case in the description below because it's a very, very long read. Finally, we have Tier 7, which is where we see deliberately causing a safety car, racism somehow, and basically being told not to show any footage on someone's iPhone. Wainless reverse pit entry Bathurst 1982 refers to Ron Wainless, who was driving for Recar Racing in 1982. However, somehow he came into the pits in the wrong direction, but he didn't get a penalty. I don't know how he didn't get a penalty for it, but it happened. And I'll be honest, well, I don't know what lap it happened. I have no idea. So if someone can please send me just photographic evidence of this actually happening, that'll be amazing. I would love to see it. Rossi slash Hinchcliffe deliberately causing safety car Bathurst 2019. Now, I just want to say thanks to the maker for the iceberg as well, Jenna must withhold, for adding some context behind this entry, because I have no idea about this. So, because James Courtney busted a wheel because of hitting the wall and Walkinshaw had good fuel economy, the team told Rossi to throw the car into the sand to bring out the safety car, I think in the last corner, Murray's, before the critical lap to give Courtney an advantage. However, it was overshadowed with the whole situation of Coulthard back in the field up to reduce stacking for Dick Johnson Racing Team Penske situation. David Reynolds' iRacing slash E-Series withdrawal refers to David Reynolds withdrawing from the remaining races because the drivers were taking it very seriously. Which, I mean, makes sense. I mean, it's virtual, which means you can take some risks and the physics are also not real. I mean, look at Rick Kelly. He was legit flying to Narnia, as an example. So I can understand where Reynolds is coming from, so it makes sense. I think Bryce Ford would also echo the same thing as well. HDT Tires Bathurst 1972 refers to the tire choices HDT made at the beginning of the 1972 Bathurst race. The race obviously started off with odds wet, so the team boss, Harry Fifth, spoke to Peter Brock and Colin Bond about tire choices. After some back and forth, Fifth changed his mind at the very last second, right before the cars were wheeled onto the grid. Bond was put on an odd mix set of tires. I'm pretty sure it was like some intermediates and some dries, I'm pretty sure. While Brock was on innovative hand groove slicks, which apparently was the tires that Bond was about to use. Brock would win the race, while Colin Bond crashed on lap 2. Dick Johnson Racing purposely going into debt to win the 2010 title refers to Dick Johnson Racing going into debt, $4 million in debt to be exact, to win the 2010 title with James Courtney. He will later speak on the 2010 title run in 2023, saying it was wild, pretty emotional, and a massive distraction. Wright Sabotage Oran Park 2004 refers to Jason Wright's PWR racing car being found with a plastic bag which was wrapped around the butterfly through the trumpet of the engine with loose bolts, nuts, and washers, which was sitting on top of the pistons in the engine, which caused Bright's throttle to be jammed open and the car basically went off the track. And still to this day, no one knows who did this. I highly recommend watching this video by Aero Productions Motorsport on this matter. Team Kiwi bankruptcy refers to Team Kiwi announcing their bankruptcy. Well, mainly lately the team owner by the name of David John. John was in risk of being bankrupt in 2009. However, he didn't know his lawyer actually agreed to not seal the documents to confirm his bankruptcy, which gave him some time to sort things out. The team still raced at the Hamilton 400, even when John was looking more likely to be bankrupt. He said that he had $5.2 million in assets, but the judge seized his assets. And with that, Team Kiwi is no more. Lucas Dunbar Motorsports slash Travis Bainan refers to one of the most interesting legal actions I have ever seen. Lucas Dunbar Motorsport backed out on the new sponsorship for the Townsville 400. The sponsor? Travis Candyman Bainan. For a little backstory, Bainan is basically an Australian businessman who's the owner of a tobacco franchise with over 304 stores. Bainan won a legal battle against Lucas Dunbar Motorsport, and the team was forced to pay Bainan $250,000. VA Superstars Chinese Racism. This entry really interests me, and I have been searching this ever since the iceberg was released. However, sadly, I got nothing. My guess is that it is about the cancellation of the China round in 2006, or the drivers were not happy about the track, considering that Winterbottom ran over a drain cover and busted a massive hole into the basically into the car. But I have no idea. If someone can please tell me what this means, that'll be great because I think everyone is confused about this entry. Marcus Marshall sponsor for 2009 refers to the countless sponsors Marcus Marshall's team had. Basically, the team was negotiating with Sharon Rentals, but it reached another sponsor, Access Cash, which disappeared, then reappeared to buy the team, but then disappeared so suddenly. Then there was also documents in the Queensland Supreme Court which showed the owners and a venture by the name of BT Projects were the defendants against Kalame Corporation, which oversees the Full Tilt poker website, reportedly pursued $52 million. Marshall's also confirmed at the end of the relationship with Sharon Rentals. It's also worth mentioning as well that one of the owners, Daniel Zetkov, I think that's how you say his last name, but I might be wrong, was arrested for bank fraud, money laundering, gambling, conspiracy, and also possession of electronic funds legally. To round off the iceberg, it is the Taz Douglas podium iPhone incident. Basically, it refers to Taz Douglas recording the rostrum when he was on the podium in the 2014 Bathurst 1000. Obviously, supercars and TV executives were not happy about this and told Douglas to never share the video publicly. So I'm guessing, yeah, he didn't get any permission to record this, and I guess we will never know what Taz Douglas recorded on his iPhone. And that is it. That is it for the Supercars Controversy Iceberg. This was great to make. And it actually took me a short amount of time compared to the Valorant Esports Iceberg, which obviously is on my Valorant channel. So go check that out if you are also a fan of Valorant. I'm not really too sure if I'm going to be making more icebergs. Probably I might be, but we just have to wait and see there. So that's really about it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you guys on next time in the next one. Goodbye.